the emergency evacuation announcement. Welcome everyone, by the way. Right, there are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm activates, please leave the building in an orderly fashion via your nearest fire exit. The 2 fire exits through the partition doors are currently not in use due to ongoing works. Therefore, the fire exits are through the main doors of the hall or the storeroom adjacent to the stage. The fire assembly point is the island in front of the main entrance to the building. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings. Please do not return to the building until given permission to do so by council staff. Please note that the meeting will be audio recorded. Please switch off mobile phones or turn them to silent. Toilets and hand washing facilities are available in the foyer area. Members of the public, while you are of course entitled to film or take photographs during this meeting, can I please emphasise to you that this should be done without disruption to the meeting and can only be done from a designated area in the public seating. Can I please therefore ask you to raise your hand clearly in the air if you wish to take photographs or film this evening? We're not recording, but I'll record. I'm quite disappointed, really. But okay, thanks. Members, there is a need to use microphones. I'm not being greedy, but I'm told this is apparently what the sound people want us to do. So I've got 2 microphones, but there is a need to use microphones during the meeting. When I invite you to speak, please wait until there is a microphone in front of you before speaking, as microphones are needed for the hearing loop and for the audio recording. These are all switched on and ready for you to speak and will be unmuted by officers for you. Please make sure that the microphone is directly in front of your mouth before speaking. Members, voting will be done on a show of hands in line with the Constitution. I will ask for a show of hands for and then against recommendations. We'll also ask for a show of hands for those wishing to abstain from voting. Thank you very much, and when I get the sign, we will formally start the meeting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Executive Committee on this day, Thursday, the 19th of January 2023. I think everyone is here, so in terms of item 1, no need for apologies for absence as we have a full attendance. Non-members attending, and I look to my right, Councillor Hoy, Councillor Eaves, Councillor Jill Waite, and Councillor Cross. Welcome this evening, and also our 1 member of the public sitting over on the other side of the room. Minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of December 2022. Members, they're in the agenda pack. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to read them. First of all, on points of accuracy. Yep. Agreed. Thank you. Right, item 4, to receive declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest from the items on the agenda? No? Okay. Matters referred to the executive and, I beg your pardon, item 5, questions on notice from councillors. And I see that we've got 3 questions on notice. And I think we will turn in order of those questions. First of all, to Councillor Cross. Councillor Cross, just before you start, I see on 1.2 of the question pack you've actually addressed your question to the portfolio holder for strategic planning and assets, Councillor Ward, and yet the subject that you then go on to talk about falls actually within the portfolio of Councillor Mrs Belton.
I saw that Councillor Belton was responsible for this, but Councillor Ward is, I believe, the portfolio holder in charge of assets, and the funding is to be directed towards or including some of our assets, for example, Mill Hall.
Well, to be fair, Councillor Cross, we're talking about items on the agenda. There's 3 items on the agenda tonight. and all the items actually the questions or notice have to actually relate to the item rather than you attempting to divert it to a specific.
The item on the agenda that I'm addressing
Right.
is funding, and where the funding from the UK SPF goes,
Right.
in particular the E4 section, which is allocated £600,000, which can be spent on the development, restoration or refurbishment of local natural, cultural and heritage assets and
Okay.
sites. So it's the
Councillor-
heritage assets and sites, which would include Mill Hall. So I'm asking Councillor Ward whether any funding is to be specifically directed
Okay.
towards...
Councillor Cross, your question is actually written here. It makes no reference to the Mill Hall. It does quite correctly relate to item 7. So as chairman, I'm going to redirect your question and ask Councillor Belton to deal with it, just as you know
fair
that
enough.
from the outside.
Okay.
Outset, because it's of general notice. You're more than welcome to sit down. Please don't stand on ceremony.
Right, shall I read the question then to Councillor Belton?
Yeah, thank you.
Apologies for the misdirection of my question. So the question is, the council prioritised the interventions in its investment plan with 60% on E4, enhancing existing cultural, historic and heritage institutions. The investment plan did not need to specify individual projects. Please provide specific projects that are earmarked for these funds.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. Councillor Belton.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cross. Firstly, so the report and the motion this evening, or the recommendation this evening, specifically refers to the funding for year 1, which is a very small amount of the money, and we only have a matter of weeks to spend it, which is unhelpful. But I'll go through and answer the question. So as set out in the report, in light of the limited time available to deliver projects in this financial year, the council is intending to procure goods and services directly, and we're currently exploring options under intervention E4 around commissioning community arts and cultural projects in preparation for the coronation of King Charles, funding cultural events and exhibitions, improving the district's tourism brand and promoting its cultural offering, as well as providing opportunities for local culture or heritage institutions to access small amounts of funding for projects in advance of any fuller grant programme in future years. At this stage, it's not clear whether funding can be rolled over, and therefore we are identifying projects that can be delivered in the short space of time that we have under the Year 1 funding. At this point, projects for years 2 and 3, which is where the substantial money comes forward, have not yet been determined. The Council welcomes suggestion from members and stakeholders, such as parish councils and community groups, and there will be an opportunity to distribute funding through a grant programme as well as directly procured services.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belton. Councillor Cross, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, it was really to establish whether the Mill Hall and Castle Hall in particular were to be considered in future years for investment. It had been said to me by the councillor that I was going to address the questions to, that to demolish the Mill Hall and build a state-of-the-art smaller community hall in its place was a no-brainer. And I was wondering if that was still the opinion or whether that had changed. Obviously, I'd like to see investment going into the Mill Hall and other community assets and heritage cultural assets such as Castle Hall.
Councillor Cross, you never miss an opportunity to try and divert, but I will go back to Councillor Belton and actually ask Councillor Ward if he wishes to chip in with an answer, because I think it's important that we are totally open and transparent about these things. So, Councillor Belton, you have a first go, and Councillor Ward, if you want to come in.
Yep. Thank you. As I said, years 2 and 3 haven't been determined yet, but absolutely the assets of the council will all be considered, not just those ones in Rayleigh, but the Freight House, Cherry Orchard. We have a vast array of assets across the district, and we'll be looking at opportunities to see what can be improved and where. I'll let Councillor Ward come back on the other question, but I believe you know the answer to that already. But thanks very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, as you can see, the Mill Hall is open. There are bookings being taken and it's ongoing. Obviously, we will be looking to see what can be done going forward, to see what can be done, and we're doing that at this moment. So I can't tell you any specifics, but I can tell you that we are looking what can be done.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Cross, thank you very much.
Can I ask one more
I'm
question?
sorry, Councillor Cross, you get one supplementary, and we have to be quite strict on these things in the interest of other questioners as well. Thank you. And we welcome Councillor Hoy to the rostrum. Councillor Hoy, do you want to read out your question, I think, to address to the portfolio holder for Finance, Economy and Climate, Councillor Mrs Belton. Go ahead, Councillor Hoy.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. To Councillor Mrs Belton, to deliver the 2022-23 UK SPF projects, the Council will need to commission third-party consultants or service providers. Considering that the Council spent around 30% of the Levelling Up Fund on consultants to produce a generic report, can it be guaranteed that considerably less will be spent on consultants and reports with this fund, and the monies will be actually spent on the ground directly benefiting the district?
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Councillor Mrs Belton.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Yes, we can guarantee that. I'm certain that we are not going to be spending considerable sums of this budget on consultants. Over the past number of years, a considerable amount of money has been spent on consultants, as you pointed out. This has included surveys and reports, all of which have yielded important information that has and will continue to help shape decisions for the district. The Council intends to prioritise the use of this funding towards projects that are visible within the community. This may include physical improvements, events, exhibitions, activities. A significant proportion of these projects are likely to be identified in the following 2 financial years, as I mentioned earlier. This could be through a grant programme where third parties would be able to bid for money to such projects in combination with services directly procured by the Council. Where the Council does use consultants, it intends that these would only be to facilitate the delivery of tangible projects such as those just described.
Thank you. You answered my supplementary question within that answer. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Hoy, I want to make a point in relation to your question. I really welcome your question because if you knew the robust conversations that executive members have had collectively and individually with the corporate leadership team about exactly the point, but those conversations don't get recorded publicly. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity tonight to endorse exactly what Councillor Belton has said, and we really have got our eye on that because there seems to be a good career to be made by certain consultants that go around local authorities making an awful lot of money on copy and paste reports but replacing the name. So I really appreciate that question. I think that's really helpful. Thank you very much, Councillor Hoy.
No, that's no problem. We are trying to participate a bit more in these meetings, so hopefully we'll have some more questions in the future.
Absolutely
which
great.
will help you as well.
But while you're still here, I think we turn to 1.4
Yes.
to your question there.
Yes, thank you. Again to Councillor Mrs Belton. Paragraph 3.13 gives a table of where money is budgeted to be spent. E1 shows £300,000 for improvements to town centres and high streets. Historically, spending on these areas have been restricted to Rochford, Raleigh and Hockley. Can you guarantee that money from this budget will be available to the smaller centres such as Holbridge and Great Wakering?
Thank you. And yes, absolutely. Across all 3 interventions, the Council will seek to look at locations throughout the district. Whilst we've got a fairly limited time in this financial year, applications to any future grant programmes from locations such as Holbridge, Great Wakering, any of the other villages will be welcomed subject to meeting any wider eligibility criteria, and we will be encouraging those parishes and community groups from those areas to engage and come forward with their ideas as they will know those areas best. The council will also consider proportionately funding projects in these locations directly. It's likely there will be some degree of prioritisation towards the larger areas due to making the biggest impact to the most residents, but absolutely we want to engage all residents and groups across the district and improve on a wide variety of areas. More details on the process for identifying projects in year 2 and 3 where the real budget starts to come forward will be forthcoming at a meeting of the exec.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you for that answer. That was obviously what I wanted to hear as well. I'm sure Councillor Efty as well wanted to hear that with Great Wakering in mind. I understand that you'll be consulting the parish councils and community groups. How will you engage with ward councillors on that? Or how will you allow ward councillors to be engaged?
So referring back to, I think, my first answer to the first question, we want ideas from all members to come forward. Some ideas won't be relative just to one parish, they'll be transferable. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, we don't want to duplicate resources, so we want to work together with parishes, with ward councillors, potentially with county councillors, and look at exactly what we can do to maximise not only the funding that we have, but the opportunities we have to benefit the most people.
Right, thank you.
And in an executive briefing earlier this week, I made exactly that point, that I want all councillors to be engaged with this sort of stuff, you know, officers to be well aware of all ward councillors. And again, I really welcome, I don't think it's a total love-in, but, you know, I really welcome that question, because it's a point that we've made consistently, that there are a number of sub-centres around the Rochford district that must receive their share of funding, and Councillor Efty, and you've singled him out, always makes a plea for Great Wakering in particular, but also the parades of shops and areas. So again, really welcome your question. Thank you very much indeed. Right, if we move on to item number 6 on the agenda, matters referred to the executive and reports from other committees. I'm not aware that there are any. So that takes us quite nicely onto item 7, which is the UK Shared Prosperity Fund 2022 to 23, the allocation. I think if I can turn to you, Councillor Mrs Belton, I think you're going to lead us through this one. Thank you.
Thank you. The questions on notice have quite ably sort of already gone through the report for me, which is helpful. So I'll just say a few lines and keep it brief. So the reports, as the report states, RDC have successfully secured 1 million of shared prosperity funding following the application of our investment plan. At this time, there's one recommendation, as indicated at point 1.1. The funding equals 74,450 that we need to spend this financial year, broken down into the 3 categories as displayed in the table at 3.13. Given the very short space of time to deliver this spend and the fact that we do not know if it can be rolled over, not through want of asking, I might add, we'd like to look at delivering projects that the council can actually procure and deliver themselves, as I've already stated this evening. This could be things such as deep cleans, commission of art for the coronation, heritage projects, climate conference, to name a few suggestions that have come forward so far. I trust everybody's read the report. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't think there's much more to say.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions that you have on that particular report? I have one which relates to 3.24, and it really, my question really is there any plan to set up any sort of working group in bringing this back? We talk about being brought back in future meetings, but is there going to be wider engagement?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Going back to my earlier points about wanting member engagement, I think it's important. I'm not sure if we've already got a vehicle for delivering a working group for this. Phil's nodding to my right. But if there isn't, I'd certainly support one being set up, because we've done something similar, I believe, with Welcome Back, where we engage the parishes and set up meetings. We're going to want to roll that out and have something of substance that everybody can feed into in a timely fashion.
Yeah, I mean, what I had in mind really, and it comes back to my answer to Councillor Hoy, I just want to see member engagement, whether or not that's done by regional area within Rochford or whether or not it's done focused with ward members. Certainly, if there's a specific issue relating to a particular parade, and that falls within a ward. But certainly, I want to see much greater linkage to members in this work to make sure the whole of Rochford gets its fair share, which, as you say, links into Councillor Hoy's earlier question.
Yeah, so I think the local partnership group that was set up when we were putting together the investment plan at 3.18, it lists some of the people that were engaged. We can certainly make sure that ward councillors are invited to the relevant meetings. And as I said, I don't think a lot of this will be ward specific. I think we need to make it more broader than that. But yeah, engagement's going to be key to get the best results.
Good. Okay. All right. So, Councillor Ward.
If I might just come in, the criteria, it's just to ensure that when it does go out to the various groups that they understand the criteria so they are not upset if they are not able to do something because it doesn't fill the criteria. Can we make sure that that criteria is really out there so they understand? Thank you.
Absolutely, and what I would say is this is exactly why year one funding, because of the short space of time and the amount of uncertainty around some of the criteria, because DLUC just haven't provided it yet, it needs to be delivered in-house by the council. Once that information has come forward, a clear eligibility criteria, if we go down the grant route or whatever is decided, can be set out, because what we don't want is there was problems with the Welcome Back, we all know that, where things were put forward, a lot of work went in and it wasn't able to be delivered for one reason or another. This needs to be more streamlined, but we learnt lessons, we've got the consultants' report and we don't need to go through that again.
Thank you very much. No other points? Right. Okay. Well, we turn to the decision being recommended at 1.1, and I'll read that out, that authority be delegated to the Strategic Director and Director of Place in consultation with the portfolio holder for finance, climate and economy to allocate and spend funding for 2022 to 23 in accordance with the Council's approved UK SPF investment plan. Members, is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we turn to item number 8. It seems to have been the Councillor Mrs Belton roadshow so far, so we'll take the pressure off of you, and we will turn to item 8. I can sort out my papers. This is the lease of part of Fairview Pavilion and fenced open area, Fairview Playing Field, Victoria Road, Rayleigh. If I can ask you, Councillor Ward, to introduce the report.
Certainly, thank you very much, Chairman. This particular pavilion, Fairview, has been in operation since 2018, and Trudge, the people who have been leasing it, have been a very tried and trusted lessee. So we saw no problem in carrying on the work they were doing, and we were more than happy to agree to this new lease. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Any questions of Councillor Ward? Councillor Sperring.
Thank you, Chairman. I have absolutely no problem with this one, and perhaps I'm diverting a little bit, but I am aware of a number of other pavilions that are looking to become part of this sort of project, and may I just suggest that we fully engage with local ward councillors at that time as when these things start, so that everybody is aware of what's going on. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sperring. Councillor Mrs Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I just want to make sure that we make sure that the tenants actually carry out the internal maintenance and that we keep a close eye on that, because obviously we've been criticised in the past for issues like that, so please can we make sure that that happens. I know they do keep it clean, and I support Dave Sperring on this, Councillor Sperring on this. They are good tenants, so let's keep them, but if we can just keep an eye on the maintenance, that'd be great. Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. Yeah, as we go to look at all the other pavilions that we have, which is Hullbridge, we will be speaking with the ward councillors there, and at Great Wakering with the ward councillors there on those two pavilions and their thoughts and ideas in regards to that. And of course, all the pavilions will have to be monitored regularly to ensure that the lessee keeps up with the various contracts that they have signed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Any further questions or points? No? Okay. In that case, we'll turn to the decision being recommended, and that's at 1.1 and 1.2. First one, 1.1, to sign a new lease for the council-owned asset, part of a sports pavilion, an open area located at Fairview Playing Field, Victoria Road, Rayleigh, edged red on the map, annexed hereto as Appendix 1, to Trudge Fitness Limited as gymnasium and fitness centre use. Is that agreed, members? Thank you. And to delegate authority to the Director, Assets and Investment, in consultation with the portfolio holder for strategic planning and assets, to finalise the terms of the lease with Trudge Fitness Limited. Again, is that agreed? Agreed. Unanimous. Thank you. And finally, to item 9, cost of living update. And in that respect, I turn to Councillor Arthur Williams to update us in respect of that report. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. The decision is being recommended is for members to receive an update of the cost of living response of work and the cost of living working group. I have a couple of other points I'd like to bring to members' attention. I have circulated a report that we've got together in the last couple of days. It's very difficult to get the data together at the moment. It's an ongoing situation, but up to now we have had we've started off with warm hubs. It's been very, very successful. We have Holy Trinity Church, Rayleigh, Hawkwell and Hockley Methodist Church, Rochford Parish Council, Mega Centre Rayleigh, Bramerton Community Church, Hullbridge Free Church, Hawkwell Parish Church, Rochford Day Centre, and the Rayleigh Methodist Church, which has taken advantage of our funding. I've actually attended a couple of them, and they are really, really interesting, and I have to say they're quite entertaining. We have recently been asked to start up a winter pressure hub. This is an initiative to help the NHS help patients out of hospital. We've been given £46,000 to spend on assisting them with this. That was due to go live last Friday. In actual fact, it won't be until this Friday or Monday. I'll keep you updated on that. In the report that I have and I've issued tonight, there is quite a few pieces of data which may be of help to members, and I will distribute this among all members as soon as possible. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. Will this be on the website because this is a public meeting? Will this also be available to the public or not?
There is nothing here that should be P&C. It's all just straightforward information. Yes, it will go on the website.
Thank you very much indeed.
Councillor Mrs Belton.
Thank you. Just one question. You just mentioned some funding that's been made available to us to help people back into their homes. And you may not know this because it's only new, but is there a referral system for councillors to refer people, or is it via the NHS?
This is the tricky one, so you have to give me the tricky one, right? This is totally by the NHS.
Okay.
It's not something that we can do. It's to help people as they are discharged and to see if they need any help, all sorts of things, like taking over what the Mega Centre did during the pandemic, getting medicine, getting food, things like that. It's to help that. So RAVs are doing it this year for that, and also the Mega Centre's involved. It really is hugely successful what we've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any further points? No. Okay. Look, this is a good piece of work. It came together formal documentation in about September, October time. I've been talking about the need for this council to lead the way with making sure that it, came up with a signposting document, support for residents, both where we can divert. We have said on many occasions that unfortunately, much as we might like, we don't have a pot of money that we can just dole out and solve everyone's issues. But what we can do is make sure that we support our community by raising awareness of the bodies out there that can give tangible support. And we can also support our own residents who fall into difficulty or hardship as a result of the impact of cost of living. What I have asked for and delivered is the emphasis being shifted from the signposting, which is in place now, obviously added to and enhanced, but also the performance in terms of what we've achieved. And I really appreciate that that report, which I've not had a chance to read because I only received it a few minutes ago. But Councillor Williams, you want to come back?
Yeah, just one thing I'd like to point out. I'd like to thank the officers, Tracy Lilly and Kelly Redmond, for getting all this information together and doing what they've done. And I'm not sure if members are aware, but there was a recent conference on the cost of living, and Tracy was asked to speak to them from the experience that we've had, especially with our the very successful Ask the Leader that we transmitted. And I have to say, it's been really good. Once again, Rochford leads the pack, I feel.
Absolutely right, and thank you very much for making that point. I heard the other day that Tracy Lilly was speaking at a conference to highlight what Rochford, what Brentwood have done, and isn't it nice to be up there as being leading examples? And thank you, Councillor Williams, for your leadership in this, because these things don't just happen. We all work together as a team, but you've certainly taken the lead in that respect. And it's a critical issue which is still with us, and we're playing our part to assist residents as best we're able. Thank you. If I turn to the decision being recommended for members to receive an update on the cost of living response and work of the cost of living working group, and I think that's it's an update, it's really for noting, but at 1.1, is that agreed? Thank you, members. Just before I close the meeting, I should have mentioned a little earlier that I only became aware earlier this week that our bid on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, that bid actually hadn't been publicly circulated, and I believe I'm right in saying, and I'm looking to Steve Summers, I believe that has now been rectified, hasn't it? It's going to go on the website. Now, a bit of an oversight. There was no intention not to actually share that bid process. So that is due to go on the website. So there we are. Right, at that point, at 8:01, 8:02 p.m. on my watch, I'll close the meeting. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.